Let's go down to Jerome's. Beautiful day for some Q&A. Let's fire it up. First up is from Person AOT. Would you be on board with keeping Ed Ingram? His run blocking was a lot better this year. Just has to work a bit more on pass. But out of the three interior, I'd like to keep him on his deal as a starter and upgrade the other two spots now. Well, he won't be back on his current deal. So he's currently slated, I think it's like 3.7 is his second round pick, 4-year rookie contract. But through playing time and performance incentives, I think that his base salary actually jumps up to 5.2, but that's not guaranteed. So it's either a pay cut or a cut, and maybe bring him back on the league minimum, type situation. But other than that, like, what's interesting is that when he was coming out of LSU, he was known as more of a pass blocking guard than a run blocking guard, which is just funny to me. Now, also, like, when he was at his best at LSU, he was playing left guard. And I know the whole flippy-floppy left guard, right guard thing, like going back to Brandon Fusco, it's tough because the footwork is completely different. And that's why I really respect swing backups, whether it's tackles or, a guy like Diamond Dan Feeney last year who can back up all three interior spots. And also you can do that without getting many practice reps. All right, so big time respect there. But Ingram, could he be salvageable? Maybe. Could it be a spot too where you just have him on his normal deal? You have him in camp. You just know in your back pocket you have $5 million in cap space that you can crack at any time. See how he does. And right before the start of the season, if he earns a starting job or at least a backup job on the 53, then it's pay cut or cut time. Yeah, that's the leverage that the team has. But overall, like, bring him back just to start him, nah. Next, Ethan Griffith. What is your opinion on Donovan Jackson? Ooh, he's for real. The guard from The Ohio State. We all talk about Zabel and Booker, but I never hear anything about him. So this is something I got to rectify. Generally, we're sort of, I don't want to say like ignoring, like we're aware of, but we haven't really drilled down on players that are going to be firmly in the second round conversation. And Jackson's going to be one of those guys because the Vikings don't have a pick there. But we should definitely change that because the Vikings easily could trade down from 24, maybe even trade up from 97. Who knows? But Jackson, for me, Jackson is, depending on how you see Membu and Simmons, if you don't see them reducing inside at all to guard, I would say that Jackson would be our guard 3. Now Zabel, I think is going to be better as a center than a guard, but another conversation. But for me also, Tyler Booker is 1-1 at guard. Set and forget at left guard. You're good for a decade. And Jackson has size. He's 6'4", 320. 19 pressures, 2 sacks. Had to play a lot of left tackle for the Buckeyes last year due to injuries, but left guard is where he's going to be. And I don't know, like, I want to like him more. And obviously he's adept in outside zone because he played at Ohio State. That's their bag. But there's just something about his balance. And it's something that you notice a lot, like throughout the playoffs and the national title game. Like, he leans. All right. And maybe it's just like Drew Samia PTSD. Maybe it's a little bit of Oli Udoh as well. But I have a lot of concern about guards that lean too much and have balance issues. But overall, I mean, should Jackson be a top 40, top 50 pick? Yes. Could I see him being a solid starter in this league? Yes. But overall, that's one of the reasons why we haven't really chopped it up too much about him, is that I think that he's going to go in that dead spot between the Vikings picks in the first and third round. But I mean, Jackson, could be solid, but yeah, I just love Tyler Booker a lot better. And Zabel, if he reduces inside, although he should be a center. Next, Michael Lewis, love your books. Amos, Trey Amos, going to be grand larceny in the late first, early second round. Highest floor cornerback. Trey Amos is a dude. He really is. And Siobhan, I put him in the same areas like Siobhan Ravel, Benjamin Morrison, slightly below them. But Amos, Amos is great. And just Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, the NIL, they're getting all the dudes. They got Amos from Alabama. They got Walter Nolan from A&M, just like vacuuming up all of the SEC West guys. Their competition is great. But 6'1", $190, lengthy cornerback. Ball skills for days, 3 interceptions, 10 passes broken up, 54.5 quarterback rating. I think that he's got he's just got great spatial awareness where he's great in man, great in press. He's fantastic in zone. And I think that he can be deployed in a lot of fashion. And he just understands route combinations and what's coming at him. So that's great football instinct. That's a lot of film work as well. And I think that, Amos is going to be a dude. Abso-freaking-lutely. Yeah. Next. There we go. Wild Bumbly. Who is him at center that we need? So I think Zabel's going to be a great center. Gray Zabel from NDSU. They got Jared Wilson from Georgia. Could be there in the third. Probably going to go like the borderline second, third round area. I think he'll test really well this week, so maybe firmly in the second round conversation. But the absolute ideal situation for the Vikings is if Michael Jurgens emerges. Right. So Jurgens, I know that Jurgens gets a bad rap because he gave up that blocked kick against the Raiders in the preseason game, but Jurgens played extremely well at center during his 3 games in preseason. Looked good in camp as well. Obviously firmly center 3 behind Dan Feeney and Garrett Bradbury, but he looked really good. And he's a 6-year senior coming out of Wake Forest, played multiple guard spots, moved to center, did all that. So I think at minimum he'll be the new swing backup. But I think that he could. I think there's a little something there. I think that Jurgens has that anchor, has that high football IQ, could become the center of the future. Like he and JJ McCarthy long term, that'd be great. I love if this is what we see on Sundays, for the next 10 years. So, best case scenario, Jurgens. But also, free agency. Dahlman is out there. My guy James Daniels. The leftovers Ryan Kelly. I mean, there's options there. But the absolute best case scenario for the Vikings is that their center's already on the roster and his name is Michael Jurgens. Lastly, R-Free. So I love this one. OG Jerome. If he could come back in any time period, anywhere, where and when would it be? For me, I would want to see North America before the Europeans started settling it. It's crazy, like North America, Central America, South America, like the natives, just how many, or hell, around the world too, Africa, parts of Asia, where before things were documented, like how many huge, just like battles occurred that nobody knows about. It's crazy, huh? It's like World War II, the largest tank battle in world history, the Barbankova Mousetrap. There was no photographers, and of course they probably couldn't get anything because I believe it was summer. It was like dust. It was just like a giant dust storm, but the world's largest tank encounter, and there's paintings of it. Just insane, right? But so I would pick 2 spots. So Roman Empire, the height of the Roman Empire, where you could live a pretty good life. You know what I mean? I would be a patrician, obviously, because I like working, but something tells me that like a life of soft living, like maybe a junior senator, won't be so bad. So I'd say like 117 AD, Trajan comes to power because it's a great time because you're past a lot of internal conflict. You're after the Flavians, so you have the Colosseum, aka the Flavian Amphitheater, built. You got the Circus Maximus as well, so you got gladiatorial games. You can bet on the ponies, and you got all the wine you can drink. Dionysus, it's good times. Also, it's a long stretch of peace. Relative, well, war is always going on in the frontier, even though with Trajan, largest extent of the Roman Empire, but internal peace because before that, I think the worst time to be in Rome would have been after Caesar died. So the civil wars back and forth, Augustus, Mark Antony, all that stuff. But the relative time of peace in Rome, as well as you go from Trajan, Hadrian, start scaling things back. Pius, Marcus Aurelius, obviously, who co-ruled with his adopted brother Lucius Verus. Not the Lucius Verus from Gladiator and Gladiator 2. It's fictional. But then you get to Commodus, but I feel like I would be dead by then. It's perfectly fine, man. But like a solid 60 years of peace and prosperity, I kind of like it. Flip side, so since I'm like 87% Japanese, so I think I got some samurai blood in me. I would say like Japan before the Europeans showed up. So like full on isolationist samurai wars back and forth. Like say like, so the beginning part of the 1500s, because when did Europeans show up? Like 1540? Something like that. Yeah. So I'll say that. I'll say that. Just part of a clan, part of a nice little village, serving the master, going to war, eating the white rice. Be a good life. So there you go. Yeah, two polar opposites, but that's how we roll. Anyways, love that question. That is it. Q&A for this beautiful day. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skull production value.